What's happening, party people? Welcome to the monthly news stream. It is now July 1st, and it doesn't look good. I really try to bring an optimistic energy to a lot of these news streams. However, I think for the most part, these news streams, which I've been doing for years now, are and always have been so that people can make informed decisions. It's not about finding good news. I know I say almost every month that it's not good news. However, I feel like people need to make informed decisions, and there are a lot of things going on with different studios that aren't great. So, if we just want to jump right into it, starting with Nintendo, going into 2027, Nintendo is going to start releasing Nintendo Switches, or Nintendo Switch 2s with replaceable batteries, but only in the EU. So the European Union has consumer protection laws in place, and there's apparently battery issues. Let's see if they'll talk more. No. What? No. Okay, The Verge. Well, if that's not gonna work, because so many, it's fine. It's fine. The long and the short of it is just that there is an issue with the Switch 2 batteries, and some of them just stop holding a charge. I don't know if it's specifically launch Switch 2s, but just that some of them have quickly dying batteries. And part of the EU protection laws that are in place say that instead of having to buy a whole new console, the product provider, Nintendo, should allow for the batteries just to be swapped out. Because it's not a failure of the product. The battery died. Incredibly common. You're never going to believe this batteries die. My issue with this, again, is that this is in the EU. The US does not have these protection laws in place, which I think is very telling. Which I think we can all agree is a problem, you know? We'll get into more, we'll get into how protection laws are interpreted in a bit. Next, we have that Ubisoft is closing another studio following record losses. Ubisoft has been dying a very public and painful death for a very long time. It feels like every time they announce a new Assassin's Creed. I know they have other franchises, but every time they announce a new Assassin's Creed game, they really make it sound like, oh, if this... Hello? Okay, the music is still going. Turn that up a little bit, maybe. Yeah, Ubisoft makes it sound like every time they have a new game coming out, if this one doesn't, you know, be the best-selling game they've ever made, they're gonna go under. And I know there's a bunch of new leadership stuff that happened last year, but I think something like this, Winnipeg. Ubisoft Winnipeg is what's closing. And it feels like a, power releases in the near future, such as the upcoming Black Flag remake. Yep. 85 employees have lost their jobs. It feels like Ubisoft is already preparing for the worst, if that makes sense. It feels like they are burning down the house because they know. So one of Ubi co-founders died in a plane crash or something this month, so bad omens all around. I heard about that. I know it was one of the family members, because Ubisoft started as like a family company. I don't remember if it was somebody that was actually still involved with the company, actually still involved in Ubisoft, or if they were part of the leadership changes and it's like, oh, we're still going to be around as like a figurehead piece. But no, it is bad omen, bad tidings. But yeah, it feels like Ubisoft is burning down the house, trying to keep their fire lit. Which simultaneously I feel is the reason why they have such a bad perception right now. You know, the reason why publicly they don't look great right now. I don't even want to say, oh, it's too early to tell. It's inevitable. It is a matter of time that Ubisoft is going down. We talked about this last month, maybe the month before, about when Ubisoft goes under, who's going to start buying up these IPs? Is Activision going to acquire Assassin's Creed? Actually, I feel like Activision might want something more like the Tom Clancy games, just to shut them down so they're not competing with Call of Duty, and then transfer all of the transfer everybody from the call it Tom Clancy teams over to something like Call of Duty. It wouldn't be great, but I wouldn't be surprised. Sorry, I'm still trying to find the good balance for this music. I'm going to turn that down a little bit now. Okay, what was this one? Why is this not up at the top? Oh! Yeah, Hidetaka Miyazaki. That was his name, Miyazaki. Yeah, FromSoft. There's a lot going on at Kadokawa, which is a major developer hub. Kadokawa is one of those global companies that's just buying a bunch of stuff up, and one of the things they own is From Software. And apparently there have been rumblings that From Software might not be safe, because Kadokawa is shifting... What was it? Yeah, they started getting a lot of funding from Oasis Management from Hong Kong. And apparently the people at Oasis don't see... It's odd to me. Something about how... Yeah, Kadokawa has labeled FromSoft strategically one of its most important assets. President made it through, but the shareholders are pissy. Oh. The greed sickens me, is what it is. Because it's always about how can we make even more money. A profit leak. From Software's business model relies on collaborating with publishers like Bandai Namco and Activision, who take a disproportionately large share of revenue in exchange for sharing development risks. But FromSoft makes so much money. It's money that I can't... This makes sense why we're getting a Bloodborne movie and an Elden Ring series now. Yeah, to make money off of the properties without having to go through companies like Activision or Bandai Namco. I mean, obviously you have a production company for your movie or your show, but they're not taking the, quote, disproportionately large share of revenue. It's just money that I can't imagine. So when people say... So when a company says, oh, they're taking too much, but these games still make billions of dollars, and Kadokawa and FromSoft are still making hundreds of millions of dollars off of these IPs, it's just... Yeah, it's greed I couldn't fathom. So Kadokawa, the president of Kadokawa is still in place. Oasis shareholders are pissy. But, like, they just announced their, or I say announced, we just saw more of their new one. Dusk something? Dusk Blood? I can't remember what it was called, but we just got more stuff from FromSoft's new game coming out. And it's gonna make $1 billion. We know that. It's gonna make so much money. But yeah, a lot of this article is Miyazaki basically. Oh God, what was he said something like I make games. I don't. He spoke about the core of game development while noting that there's always room for improvement. He stated he is generally satisfied with the current development environment at From Software and that they are free to create the games they want without excessive interference. Yeah, so they basically asked him, it's like, how do you feel about the situation with Oasis pushing back on Katakawa? And he's like, hey, I run From Software. We're making games that we want to make. Everything is fine the way it is now. Why would things ever need to change? Which is incredibly funny. Yeah, I'm glad that this turned out okay, and that there wasn't a huge shakeup at From Software. They do not make games for me. However, their games are incredibly popular. And I do respect that. I do respect that there is an audience for these kind of games. What I don't like, and this is always a fine line to walk, the company that starts a trend or a fad is, I think, fine. Like the originators, great. FromSoft made this kind of game popular. What I don't like is how every ARPG, action RPG, is trying to be this again. Like Lies of P, some other one I can't think of, because they all look the same to me. And I immediately forget that Neo, there's the trilogy of the White Samurai games. So many of them try to be, even Assassin's Creed. From like Odyssey onward, or Origins, they started doing that more action combat stuff where you would lock onto an enemy and you could strafe around, do dodge rolls and stuff. It is a fine format. I have gotten more used to games including things like when you die, you gotta go get your stuff. Still not really a fan of it, but I've gotten used to games implementing stuff like that. So I don't begrudge From Software for making this popular. I just begrudge other companies for trying to ride the coattails without innovating on it, is my issue. There's no innovation on it. They just said, what if we make a Dark Souls, but we make it space? Or we make it sci-fi, like The Surge. I know these games I'm complaining about are already like a decade old, but it's just... Yeah, TLDR. I'm happy that FromSoft can still move forward the way that they have been, because it has been successful for them. And from the way Miyazaki speaks, it has been fulfilling for them to make the kind of games they want to make, which I respect immensely. Ugh, so bright. Pal World lawsuit nears end with Nintendo reportedly poised to gain nothing. So this is something that I've been keeping my eye on for years now, with the Pal World lawsuits and how concerning it's been that it just seems like they're trying to sue Pocket Pair into oblivion. Couple away as little as $30,000 if they win. So what Pocket Pair has been doing is every time Nintendo has pointed out, we did that before Pocket Pair did. Pocket Pair has pointed out, well, it was in the beta for the game for like a year and you didn't say anything until our game got popular. Or actually, we've been doing, more, or there were other games that did it before you. Or something like, okay, if that's your issue, we'll change it. Before the game launches or what have you, if you have a problem with us using creature catcher balls, okay, they won't be balls anymore. If it is such a superficial issue, as your creature collector come out of ball. And so I think Pocket Pair has been very smart, and they've been able to pivot quickly. And I think they also have just, in moving to producing games and helping distribute games from other developers, I think they have been able to not just keep their head above water, but I feel like the game itself, from what I've seen and heard from people, the game itself has not suffered. There will just every now and then be an update. And they're very transparent in saying, like, yep, we, instead of quietly, getting rid of the balls, they said, yep, we had to get rid of the balls. Last summer, Pocket Bear confirmed they'd made significant changes to the game due to the patents. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. One moment. I will be right back. Take care of yourselves. Alright then. That was very clearly a spam phone call. It started off like, hey, I'm Mike from the TV service. How are you today? And all I said was, from who? Because the TV service sounds so fake. All I said was, from who? Hangs up. Alright, bud. Anyway. Yeah, they've been very honest in making significant changes to the games because of these patents. They've submitted a lot of evidence that I guess the Nintendo and the Pokemon Company just couldn't keep up with, and it's also worth remembering, only in Japan. A lot of these issues that have been going on are like Japanese patents versus American patents. Truthfully, the long and the short of it for me is I'm glad that this can finally basically be over. I don't like that Nintendo's still getting something out of it. $30,000 is not a lot. Nintendo does not need that money at all. But if Pal World can come away from this as still a game, I think this will set incredible precedent for both Japanese and US regulation, or at least the interpretation for how this went down. I think if Pal World, because Pal World is surviving as a game, I hope this allows more people the confidence to make their creature collectors. I think creature collector is a very fun genre. It tickles the good part of my brain to fill up a little index of guys. Like we're listening to some Hollow Knight music today. Like the bestiary in Hollow Knight. I like filling up lists of little guys. It just baffles me that this is the one Nintendo decided. I keep seeing the guns and stuff. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that Pal World made some changes to some of their monsters. Their pals. There was something where it's like, broad strokes, there might be some similarities in shape language or something like, this guy has a similar silhouette to a Pokemon. But there were others that were more, I don't want to say egregious, but more obviously like, this is like 3 Pokemon kind of blended together. I can see that. There's the lizard that's just like Salazzle plus Enamorus or something. I don't know if they made changes to those monsters or those pals, but I heard that they were going to do something like that, or like they hired some new citation needed, but I heard that they were going to hire some new monster designers to get some more variety in the game. I'd have to do some more research on that. Citation needed. But yeah, I am happy that I don't like that Nintendo is getting literally anything out of this. Fuck them. But I'm happy that Pal World is able to survive as a game, as a precedent, so that going forward, more creature collectors can exist. Nintendo sued, and their story just kept getting weaker and weaker. Their case kept getting weaker and weaker, and that makes me happy. This should also make me happy. Life is Strange developer Don't Nod is in financial trouble, so I don't like Life is Strange. If anybody remembers when I played through that on stream, it was frustrating. I don't like the way it's written. I am excited to play the other ones that I haven't played, though. I think the next one should be like Before the Storm, the prequel with Chloe. I've heard it's not good, but I'm excited to play more Life is Strange. You know, Life is Strange 2 with an entirely different cast of characters, double exposure. There was the new one that just came out that brought back Max and Chloe. I'm excited. I am excited that there are so many seasons of Life is Strange, because I genuinely see passion in it. However, I don't think the writing is good, and I don't think the story lends credence to the powers. Like, the point of Life is Strange is it's, you know, oh, it's sci-fi because the main character has these powers for some reason. But I don't feel like the story itself, I feel like they make concessions to the rules. Like, to make the finale of Life is Strange 1 work, they have to kind of bend the rules or forget some of the rules of how Max's powers work. Not a huge fan, but I am excited nonetheless. Don't Nod is struggling, as Tencent is reportedly uninterested in backing the studio going forward. Yeah, so once again, they failed to meet expectations. They had to lay off more people, which is tale as old as time at this point. Some executive who has not paid attention to the trends, that it feels like back in like the PS4, Xbox One era, games were making money. But then with inflation, with cost of living, with the truly just abhorrent nature of the industry in general, no executive ever who is in charge of looking at these expectations or who is setting these expectations, nobody's looking at all this change in the world that's happened in the 2020s and is adjusting the expectations accordingly. They just see the 2010s where we're going up, and they just said, oh, the trend should be that we're going up. And so it leads to no company is meeting expectations. And you would think anybody would read these reports. Anybody would be reading how the competition is doing and say, oh, nobody is meeting expectation. Why would we be the exception? What has changed? How are we different to beat this issue and actually meet any kind of, I don't want to say abhorrent, like just the expectations always feel purposefully set high so that they can offset these losses with layoffs. And you know, in a couple months, Don't Nod is going to say like, oh, we're implementing, because of these layoffs, we got AI going for us, even though it's not working. The only company that's making money off of AI right now is like Nvidia. The only people making money off of AI right now are the companies who are selling parts for data centers. In a gold rush, you sell shovels. Everybody else is doing terrible, and they're still trying to sell it to you like it's the greatest thing ever. It's not. It's just killing our planet faster. I don't want to get into all that. We know it's bad. We know it's bad. It's awful. It's terrible. But yeah, I feel like Don't Nod should stick around. There's clearly an audience for these games. There's clearly a passionate group of people who love these games. And I feel like, not catered to, but I feel like there should be games for everybody who enjoys all types of games. I love 3D platformers. They should keep making 3D platformers, which they are. We got, the one bit of good news. I don't even have an article for it. We're getting a new Spyro game. Toys for Bob, developers of the Crash Insane trilogy, the Spyro Reignited trilogy, Crash 4, It's About Time, Crash, Team Racing, Nitro Fueled, half of the Skylanders games. Toys for Bob, who have done no wrong by my part, except when they were forced to do Crash Team Rumble. They were forced to make Crash Team Rumble instead of Crash 5, which was going to be a Spyro crossover. They bought their independence from Xbox, and they've been working on Spyro 4, and they announced Spyro 4, and when Spyro 4 first got announced, I led with skepticism. It's been whispered about for years, and I'm very much in the line of thinking of I'll believe it when I have it, when it is physically in my hands, when I have a disc that I can put in, and I'm holding the controller, I'm playing the game. That's when I'll believe Spyro 4 exists. But it's big, and I've taken some time to really let it sink in, and I am genuinely excited for it. Toys for Bob bought their independence. There's not a big threat of Xbox shutting them down, because Xbox doesn't own them anymore. Activision doesn't own them anymore. So I've allowed myself, knock on wood, to get excited about it. Spyro 4 is happening. Well, a new Spyro game is happening. They're not calling it Spyro 4, they're calling it Spyro A Realm Beyond, which is gonna be awesome. I'm so excited for it. But yeah, there should be games for all gamers. Don't Nod don't really make games for me. However, they make games for somebody. People enjoy these games, and I feel like expectations should be set, because Tencent owns a lot. Tencent owns a lot, and I feel like the expectation is all of our companies should be generating us the same amount of revenue. Don't Nod have a core fan base. People will buy Don't Nod games. People will buy these episodic, your Telltale type games. People will buy these episodic, story-driven narratives, which I don't have an issue with, There was a report that Wolf Among Us 2, the new season of Wolf Among Us, is going to drop all at once instead of being an episodic release. Good, great, love it. It worked for Dispatch. Keep that moving forward. But I worry. I worry that because things like Call of Duty, just, the casual, or I should say an online shooter that can work for people who are casual gamers who only have time to play once a week with friends, after work, and they all just get together in a lobby and play Call of Duty together, up to people who stream Call of Duty every day and take it super competitively and try to be the best Call of Duty player ever. Call of Duty, for what it is, can span that gap. Call of Duty has an audience all over the spectrum of the level of play. And I feel like that makes it incredibly universal and popular. So every company wants to make a Call of Duty. Dear Tencent, Don't Nod will never make your Call of Duty. What they will make you is a game, it's very much, I consider Don't Nod games very much like, we'll say an A24 movie, which I know Maxine Caulfield would love to be called an A24 movie, but they will make a set amount. There's a group of people who will go see the new A24 movie. Personally, I think A24 has taken a big dip in quality since they've expanded their budgets. I think A24 has gotten more hit and miss. I think people should start looking to Neon Studios for more. If you want old A24, look to what Neon Studios is doing. Neon is kind of setting themselves up to be the new A24. It's just my 2 cents. But yeah, I think that these games will make a set amount. They have a core fan base, people like these games, and I think but I think Tencent and these other large companies, Xbox has been threatening to close down all of their studios we'll get into that, but there's a lot going on at Xbox right now. And I think Xbox just needs to recognize companies like Compulsion, Arcane, Double Fine. These companies have a core fan base. I'm a huge Double Fine fan. I will play a Double Fine game. I love Double Fine. But they're gonna make a set amount. There's a core Double Fine fan base, and then it's just whatever genre Double Fine is playing into. Whether it's a story-driven point-and-click adventure game like Broken Age, platformer like Psychonauts, their new MOBA, Kiln, which looks so cute and fun. There's a core fan base that will play these games, and then whatever genre they're playing into might bring in other people. I feel like... Okay, so I hate Sega for a number of reasons. I don't like how Sega is bearing down on smaller creators. Like, you go to Etsy, you go to eBay, you go to conventions, and people have their own handmade Sonic merch. Sega went through and shut down all these people, you know, all these small creators. Fuck Sega for that. Sega said that the new Crazy Taxi game has been using AI, and I don't think I have an article about that, but Sega announced a new Crazy Taxi, and then they followed it up by saying the new Crazy Taxi is using AI, and a lot of people were like, they're so brave for being upfront about it. No, that's not how this works. That's like committing broadly speaking. I'm not going to be specific, but it's like if you committed a crime and then when you move to a new neighborhood, you go to your neighbor and saying like, hey, just so you know in advance, I haven't been caught, but I will commit crimes. Just so you know in the future in case it comes up. Don't be surprised, but I will commit crimes. Have a nice day. It's like, oh, well, at least they're so upfront about it. Now I don't have to worry. Or now I know to worry. It makes me worried because Sega announced that they're working on a bunch of franchises, like bringing them back. Things like Golden Axe, Shinobi, I think was one of them. There's another one that I was excited for. Oh, a new Jet Set Radio game. All these franchises of theirs that have been dead for a really long time. They said, oh, we're working on stuff. Sega wants Stranger Than Heaven to hit 5 million lifetime sales, which is a very interesting goal. When the numbers were released earlier this month, and the best-selling Yakuza game was 7 with 2.8 million. They really assume Snoop will pull in 2 million people. Sega, what are you doing? This is what I mean. This is what I mean about unreal expectations. The best-selling Yakuza game was 7. There have been at least 4 Yakuza games I can think of off the dome. 5. 4 or 5. Same for P4, but P4 could actually hit that goal. Oh, the Persona 4 remake? Maybe. And they truly announced Persona 6 with the green logo. So, there was Infinite Wealth, Man Who Erased His Name, there was Pirate Yakuza in Pirate in Hawaii, the Majima game, and they just did the remake of 3, Kiwami 3. And I know because these games have been out for a shorter time, they could still increase in sales, blah blah blah. What makes them think? What makes them think that a spin-off game that doesn't even seem to be tied in? Could it be that it doesn't seem like a Yakuza game, so people could just play it? People don't have to think or worry about, like, oh, do I have to play the other ones to know what's going on? Christ. Yeah, so the long and the short of it is that Sega has announced that they're basically banking on 3 franchises. Sonic, Yakuza, and Persona. They said those are their tentpole franchises. I think on paper, I think it's a good idea to say, these are the franchises that we know will make money and will offset costs for all of our other games. But when your cost-cutting measures are, we're going to have 3 franchises that are real, and then everything else we made is going to be slop. That looks bad. Sega fucking sucks for that. Truly. I just don't see, with Tencent and Don't Nod, I don't see reasonable expectation. It feels like Tencent is just trying to find any reason to say, we don't want to help this company anymore. I'm kind of shaky now. Got me mad. Oh yeah, here we go. This was the first thing that came up. This is the first article. Xbox is reportedly shutting down South of Midnight studio Compulsion Games, with Arcane Lion also said to be at risk. So this has evolved since this article. Compulsion also did We Happy Few, which I heard was very good. South of Midnight I've had on my desktop for a while. I bought it, haven't played it yet, but I bought it because I think the game looked interesting. I've heard really good things about it. I love the art style. So yeah, I bought it on sale, I think. Haven't played it yet, but this has evolved. I think actually this next article will go, Xbox is closing down Hellblade creator Ninja Theory. So this baffles me, because they just announced a new Senua game, and it looks like it's taking a lot of inspiration from the new God of War games in terms of being a more over-the-shoulder, action combat-oriented affair. So yeah, Compulsion Games and Double Fine are also in active negotiations about spinning off. So there might be some more articles about this later on, but the long and the short of it is that Asha Sharma, who took over for Xbox in February after Phil Spencer stepped down, Asha Sharma wants to do a full reset of Xbox going into Project Helix, whatever the next generation of Xbox is. She wants to hit a full reset button, which after several generations of a console, when you have a core fan base in your ecosystem, whether it's Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation. I'm deep into the PlayStation ecosystem. As I've talked about before, I have been a PlayStation player since the original PS1, since I was a wee little baby child. And so I have a lot of nostalgia attached not just to the franchises, but the console as a whole. The franchise of consoles, the legacy of PlayStation. Xbox has that same legacy. One generation less. The original Xbox started with the PS2, but still, there are generations, plural now, of people who have grown up on Xbox, who remember Halo, who remember Gears of War, Forza, the smaller games. Like, I think originally wasn't Beyond, I mean, not just Beyond Good and Evil, but like larger companies like Rare, who's the heyday of Rare. I want to Crash Bandicoot with the atmosphere of Last of Us. Truly, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like for the new Hellblade game, because Hellblade's whole thing was like more psychological thriller of playing as this woman who went through... You played as a woman who went through horrific trauma and had psychosis. And so she was really fucking going through it. You're not sure what's real, what's not, as you're playing the game and living through her psychosis. But also because of this, because she has visions and stuff, her tribe has labeled her kind of a witch. You know, her tribe doesn't understand her. There's a lot of stigma around what she's going through. I think the original game spoke very deeply about such topics. I don't know literally anything about Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, but the gameplay for the new one literally just looked like... Oh, I just meant in general? Well, I meant that in the new Hellblade game that got announced, the gameplay just looked like... It looked like they wanted a competitor for the new God of War games. That's what it looked like. Which... it feels like missing the forest for the trees. It feels like you're taking a already like known and beloved IP and just trying to shift it to a different audience instead of just making a new IP. Which there's a larger issue across media in general, not just the games industry, but also TV and movies, where the whole thing is like, oh, people aren't clicking on IPs they don't recognize, people aren't clicking on characters they don't recognize, it's all nostalgia bait, it's all, legacy stuff. Should have been a new Heaven. Oh, dude. Well, that's a PlayStation property. Xbox wouldn't be making that. Heaven's Blade is a PlayStation, and it's one of those games that's trapped forever on the PS3. Rest in peace, almost every game that's trapped on the PS3, except for some reason, Metal Gear Solid 4, they managed to pull out of the trenches. But yeah, I'm scared for Xbox. I mean, I shouldn't be scared for not the company, I'm scared for the ecosystem. I'm scared for the people who have invested so much time, love, and energy into these franchises that they love. Both the developers and the players. We'll say Sony doesn't deserve the PS3 library. It really doesn't, especially since they made specifically, let's call out like Mark Cerny, who was the architect for the PS3, and made it fucking impossible to the anti-piracy stuff on the PS3 is so fucking bad. But yeah, Xbox. Last year, Phil Spencer said that Xbox has a bright future. Obviously, we now know that he was in talks of leaving Xbox, so he could have said fucking anything. But I feel like Phil Spencer, what I miss about Phil Spencer is that he truly felt like a guy who loved video games. He was one of the only executives since like Reggie Fils-Aimé who looked like and acted like he fucking played a video game. I remember a tweet of his from 2018. He took a picture of his TV. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, was playing God of War 2018. And he just said, hey, this game's pretty good. If you have a PlayStation, give it a chance. He wasn't telling people outright, oh, ditch Xbox, go buy a PlayStation. He was just saying, hey, if you have the opportunity to play this game, you should. I'm really enjoying this game. Which is honestly baffling. A baffling move for the head of one game company to endorse another game company, but that's what you do when you love the medium. I miss Phil Spencer, and that's why he's a traitor in the console war. Oh. I miss Phil Spencer so much. I don't think he made the right decisions. I don't think he had I never felt like he had the passion to lead a company in the way that Xbox or something needed in his decision making. I feel like he delegated a lot of the decision making to other people in the company, board of directors and stuff, like, hey, what do y'all want? And he just kind of went with it. Which, I mean, you could argue that is a good leader, speaking to the people, like, hey, what do you want? But also, I feel like he could have said fucking anything last year because he was on his way out. But anyway, in February he stepped down and Asha Sharma stepped in, and she has been clearing house. What I appreciate is that all of these companies, Compulsion, Double Fine, Arcane, Ninja Theory, they are all being given the opportunity to try and buy their independence. To try and, hey, instead of shutting us down, we'll buy our own company from you. We'll buy back our company, even though only like 4 or 5 years ago, even less than that, maybe only 3 years ago, Xbox was buying up all these companies with the promise of like, oh, we will be, a shield for you in these trying times of the 2020s game industry. We will help you keep making the games you love. And clearly, new leadership is not doing that. So this is another The Verge article, so if I scroll down too far, it'll tell me to, you should sign up for The Verge. No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, there might be more articles later on in the stream that talk about more Xbox stuff. But really, the long and the short of it is Asha Sharma's trying to clear house, trying to wipe the slate clean for a new Xbox generation, which is destroying all goodwill for generations of consoles and generations of consumers who have built up a rapport with your legacy, not just with your big names, but just on your consoles in general. I have fond memories of Xbox Live calls, not necessarily with Xbox exclusive games, but Smite, Minecraft, Call of Duty. Be like, it's July 1st and becomes monochrome again, but to studios. True. I mean, with the current atmosphere, there were a lot of companies that didn't even bother changing their social media logos to rainbow. They weren't even performatively woke this year. I mean, fuck, I've been so busy, I haven't done anything. I didn't do anything for Pride. Thought about it, didn't do it. Maybe July will be a makeup gay month. Who knows? Alright. Oh, this was the worst one. And honestly, if anybody was going to do it, it had to be EA. We talked about this a little bit in the Discord server. EA is launching an in-game ad service. I was thinking... Didn't do anything for Pridemas. Nothing for Pridemas. But, I mean, I'm playing Metal Gear Solid later. Like, once I'm done with Kingdom Hearts. Axel and Roxas. Pretty gay. Metal Gear Solid. Pretty gay. I'm playing queer adjacent games. Don't worry. Now, what would be really gay is if I played Dream Drop Distance. I have never played a game with such an obviously queer protagonist. And I've played games that are explicitly queer. I played the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. I love that game. That was such a fun game. The actual gameplay loop of making cards, wonderful. However, Riku in Dream Drop Distance? I know what you are. Yeah, so EA is launching an in-game ad service. I was thinking a couple weeks ago, it's been so long since EA has been in the news for anything. I wonder what EA is up to. 2 days later, Risen drops this. Yeah, so for all of your games that already make a bajillion dollars, your football games, your soccer game, your football games or your football games and what have you, yeah, there's just going to be banners for real world stuff. You're driving through a city in a big open world game, you're just going to see a real Coca-Cola banner. I can't wait for this to backfire. When people can start interacting with your ads, like if there's a, we'll just say, like, if there's a billboard in a game, a Coca-Cola billboard in a game, you're gonna see so many social media posts, just shorts or little, you know, vertical slices of people being like, fuck Coca-Cola, and exploding the billboard, or shooting at it, you know? Or trying to drive into these ad spaces. Gamers, parenthesis derogatory, are very inventive. They will find ways to fuck with your ads, which I'm hoping is what happens. This felt inevitable, and I'm not surprised that EA is the one doing it. But it doesn't feel good. And it's not supposed to. It's supposed to make them money to sell ad space. I just wonder what's going to happen when the licensing runs out. What they're going to replace stuff with, because it's not like games on the PS2 where you would just launch a game as is and it would be on the game forever, you know? Like Tony Hawk games with licensed music. You just launch the game and that's how it is forever. But in re-releases, they had to license new music, and there are some games from like a decade ago that had licensed music that had to be updated to take the licensed music out because the license lapsed and they didn't renew it. You can update games all the time to take things like that out. So I would be curious what's going to happen in, say, 10 years when this truly fails, everybody clowns on EA or doesn't say anything about it, and it actually doesn't help anybody sell more Gatorade. EA, I think, is fascinating because, like, where every company is, like, truly maliciously evil, EA is still an evil company. You know, I would say EA is evil like Nintendo. What I think is fascinating is that they're on the cutting edge of doing heinous shit. So what it feels like is we can clown on EA all we want for the stupid shit they're doing, but in 5 years, it might actually take off. And then Nintendo's putting ads in their games. And then we get truly mad at Nintendo. When EA did it, we were like, oh, EA, you fucking morons. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like EA we clown on because EA makes truly bafflingly stupid decisions. But if it catches on, it's going to be way worse than that. Oh yeah, this was a whole thing of like, yeah, they praised Compulsion Games. They lauded Compulsion Games for making such a wonderful game. Oh, it sold so well. Oh, it was such a great story to tell. And, yeah, now they're threatening to, Compulsion Games senior writer, Zaire Lanier, posted online, looking for work, hours before Kotaku's report was published. Yeah. And some other, yes, I have other, articles later about this. Xbox Game Studio head Craig Duncan departing the company. There was another executive that was leaving. Yeah, Asha Sharma and Matt Booty, who have been, setting things on fire. God, there was another executive that was leaving. I know I have an article about it. But yeah, this is just more of the same. Where, Xbox is praising studios as they are closing them down. Microsoft reportedly negotiating closure of multiple studios, including Psychonauts Double Fine, South of Midnight's Compulsion, Hellblade's Ninja Theory, and the other Arcane studio. There was one Arcane studio that's already closed. The other one, Leon's, Arcane Lions, Leon's. EA is just awful. But after working at GameStop for as many years as I did, I completely understand. I had customers who would spend several hundreds of dollars on the currency just to bring back additions of players for teams. Yeah. Oh my god. The sport games truly... And here's the thing. I've been seeing why sports games are popular since I was a child. When I was a kid, my uncle would boot up Madden 08 on the PS2 and just do computer versus computer to watch fake football games during the off-season. He did that for years. They will shell out that kind of money for a character, rip any integrity. Truly. There's such sports games are a tour de force that I do not understand. And I don't mean a tour de force in a creative sense. I mean in a marketability sense. Because there's already such fervent, love around sports team. Ooh, my sports team. Go local sports team. Ooh, ah. I live in Washington. Go Seahawks. Wah. And shit like that. It was the worst thing that happened to the gaming industry. Truly. Back when here's the thing. Double-edged sword. Because when it was still niche and nobody really understood it, we had moms from the 90s through the 2000s crying that video games cause violence, video games cause school shootings, things like that. The double-edged sword is, okay, gaming is popular now, so there are less and less people who believe that. However, now it makes... I would honestly prefer going back to that time. I would prefer going back to a time when, and I know that's like partially nostalgia speaking, and I'm really trying to not speak from a place of that, to be like, oh, gaming used to be good. I'm trying not to speak to that, because there are still great games coming out. There are still great games coming out every year. The only team in sports I get down with are the Monstars. Aw, hell yeah. From the space to jam. I'm out of coffee. They still want to do that. They tried bringing back the violent video games thing like a year ago. They shelved it because no one cared. Well, there's been one guy. There's been like one pastor or ex-pastor since like 1994 who keeps trying to sue game companies for violence. And dude, nobody cares. Sit down and shut up. You've lost this battle so many times. He's like written books and stuff. I can't remember his name. But there's been one dude who won't shut up about it. But yeah, the worst thing to come out of the gaming industry's popularity has been the marketability. Has been the rise in anytime something can prove marketably viable in a capitalist system, it will be exploited. I always look to and talk about Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts started as a very niche game, a combination of Disney and Final Fantasy. In 2002, that was weird. You have, you know, the more teen or adult-centric Final Fantasy games that dealt with very heavy topics. You know, like life, death. Final Fantasy VII dealt a lot with pollution and like how we treat the planet, you know, environmentalism. And then you have Disney games, or you have Disney as a company, which does very brain dead, you know, kid focus. There's a pond filled with like 5 sharks. That's what it is now. That's what it is now. But, you know, 24 years ago, when Kingdom Hearts 1 first launched, God, I feel old. It was so niche. So there used to be so many alternatives to Pokemon. That's what we were talking about earlier. Now that the lawsuit with Pocket Pair is winding down, I'm hoping that the fact that Pocket Pair and Palworld survived the lawsuit, this is setting a precedent so that more people, every other kid is a gamer now, but if you ask them, also use Roblox, Fortnite, and whatever the popular streamer game is, it tilts me so much. Me too. Me too, especially when like, and I know you can't count on kids to make informed decisions, but when the head of Epic, which makes Fortnite, is one of like the worst dudes in the space. Fuck, what's his name? Tim Sweeney? Tim Sweeney, we'll talk about him later. Fuck Tim Sweeney. Truly and expertly. I want him out of the space so bad. But yeah, I always look to Kingdom Hearts because when it started, it was niche, and then as it became popular, as it entered the mainstream as a mainstream JRPG and started showing its lucrative nature, Disney started getting super hands-on with it, and Kingdom Hearts 3 suffered for it. The only good game ever released was Punch-Out for the NES, and it's all been downhill from there. The thing is, I can draw a direct line from, like, Punch-Out to Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay to Clash Artifacts of Chaos. There's also Dark Souls. Can't forget Dark Souls. Oh my god, I was talking about that earlier, too. That, like, the fact that again, I will not begrudge Dark Souls for making things that work for them. Miyazaki, in that article we read earlier, was like, we're making games that we want to play, games that we like. Pretty sure Dark Souls is a Punch-Out spiritual successor. Yeah, Miyazaki was saying, we're making games that we as a studio want to make. Great, perfect, love it, do your thing, King. But when other companies just do Souls-like, do these, like, stamina-based action RPGs, but they don't innovate on it. They just create a different setting, and they say, this is like Dark Souls, but it's in my OC world. It's with my OC, the White Samurai Neo. This is my OC, the Surge. This is my OC, Pinocchio, in Lies of P. When you're not innovating on it, it doesn't... There's a reason why certain franchises are as popular as they are. Because they innovate every entry on what they do best. For me, that's Ratchet and Clank. Sure, not every Ratchet and Clank game is super innovative, but I always applaud them for trying something new. There have been a Full Frontal Assault, All for One. These games did not do well. They didn't review well. They are considered bad by the Ratchet and Clank community, but I applaud them for trying to do something new. And I still have fun playing them. But when you try to sell me a game that's like, oh, it's like if X game was Y. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Give me a genre and tell me what it does well. Don't tell me it's like another game. Don't tell me, oh, it's like Dark Souls, but sci-fi. Doesn't make me want to play your game. Tell me, oh, it's a... I will even, like, allow you to use the term Souls. I hate the term Souls-like. I hate when a genre is defined by a game, like roguelike. Just say it has randomly generated. It's a procedurally generated experience. You know, talk about what roguelikes do. Because nobody's fucking played Rogue. Tried to make me tell customers that Cuphead was Mega Man and Dark Souls. No, fuck that. Say, oh, it's a 2D platformer that was inspired by what's the term? Rubber hose cartoons? I feel like people don't know the term rubber hose cartoons. It's Contra. Imagine Bugs Bunny Contra. Imagine, if you will, Bugs Bunny Contra. Even that feels gross, but I digress. What was I saying about Microsoft? It's rubber hose Contra. What was I saying about Microsoft? Oh yeah, I hope all these companies can buy their independence, and I hope it really shows that, like I hope that all of these companies can get out from underneath Xbox, because I truly feel like this is a learning experience for a lot of companies that bigger companies will just try to eat you. You know, I hope all these companies can gain their independence so we have more independent studios out there again. And I hope instead of going to PlayStation or going to Nintendo and saying like, oh, you know, we'll buy your company, we'll support you. I hope this is a learning experience so that companies like Double Fine and Compulsion can say, no, you know what, the last guy who said that didn't really have my best interest in mind. Yeah, it feels fucking awful. Microsoft is having a terrible year. Oh my gosh. Okay, so two things. 2 articles about Stop Killing Games. Stop Killing Games failed in the EU, and I chalk this up to just pure apathy. This is 1000% just apathy on the side of the European Games Commission, who just don't care. But it was... It was like, new legislation will not be proposed, but exchanges will be initiated with consumer and industry to improve management of video games' end of life. The IP holder rights, that was it. The people who make the games have complete control over the games, is the long and the short of it, and that's how it was interpreted. The people who make the games have complete control over how they make the games. And so they can do whatever they want with it. Oh, the story gets even worse? Yeah, Patches yesterday was telling me about how, basically it means that even if you have, like, a private Minecraft server, you can get sued for that. Because you're not playing the game that they want you to, or you're not playing the game how they want you to play or something. It's so bad. Okay, looks like the music is over. I think I have it set to loop, so we should be getting more. Let me just make sure the looping works on this. Yeah, okay, cool, it looped. Minecraft literally dies without custom servers. Yup. It's so bad. But the other article is that this also failed in the in California. there was some legislation that was being pushed forward in California to protect to protect U.S. American audiences and consumers, and that also failed. They were like 3 votes away or something. I think this is it. Yeah, we were only 3 votes away. Stop Killing Games back to California bill to keep online games playable. Fails to win over Senate committee. I feel like, again, this is a good push forward in bringing this conversation to a larger audience to let people know that this is happening. But I feel like, again, it's such pathetic legislators. It's pathetic legislators. It's pathetic apathy. It's from people who don't care. Oh yeah, more possible layoffs over at Xbox. Every single software job listed for id Software. Every single job for id Software vanished from ZeniMax's website. id Software, which is owned by ZeniMax, which is owned by Bethesda, which is owned by ActiBliz, which is owned by Xbox. That's the chain of command, as I understand it. So ZeniMax, who made games like Elder Scrolls Online, could be another one on the chopping block. id Software, who makes this is Doom, Doom Dark Ages. Xbox is having such a bad month. It looks so bad for Xbox, and genuinely, I don't feel bad for Xbox. I really hope id Software or ZeniMax is another company that can buy their independence. If they're allowing all these companies to come forward and make their cases to try and buy their independence, to bid themselves into independence. Making me watch an ad, fighting for my life against the app. Okay, yeah. It was Craig Duncan and Chief of Staff Luis O'Connor are stepping down. Leadership figures with long history at Rare depart the organization amid plans for business reset. Asha Sharma's words. So this is really telling, and this is really scary. Craig Duncan oversaw company's sprawling collection of internal studios, including Halo Studios, In Exile, Ninja Theory, Obsidian, Playground Games, Rare, The Coalition, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Flight Sim, Turn 10 Studios, Undead Lab, World's Edge, and Xbox Studio Publishing. He leaves this week. The studios will report to Xbox Chief Content Officer Matt Booty until a replacement is found. Now, Asha Sharma and Matt Booty have basically the same plan of wanting to do a studio reset, which is why all of these studios are going to Matt Booty, please sir, can we not be shut down? We know that Compulsion, Ninja Theory, Double Fine, and... Okay, Arcane Leon's is not here, but they're also maybe possibly in the chopping block. And it sucks because, Arcane is making that really cool Blade video game that I'm really excited for. One of the only games I'm excited for coming up. But we're not allowed to have nice things. Yeah, so Craig Duncan and Luis O'Connor were executives with a long and storied history with the company. And if they can see the writing on the wall and they're dipping, it doesn't look good. I would say it looks really fucking bad. Connor was a Rare veteran, spending over 25 years in the studio and rising to executive producer, leading Everwild. Didn't Everwild shut down? Wasn't that a game that just never happened? Their departure follows a report that Xbox CEO Asha Sharma is looking at sweeping job cuts at the company, having spoken for a need to reset the business after it spent over $20 billion over a 5-year period, during which revenue deteriorated by nearly $500 million. Sharma recently hired 5 executives she worked with previously at Instacart and Microsoft's Core AI division. That's right. We talked about that last month, where some executives were leaving and she brought in fucking AI-brained people. It looks so bad. This is not Here's the thing. Xbox already... I didn't think it could get worse for Xbox. Xbox had a really bad game plan that we saw playing out in real time over the 2020s. They were putting so many games on Game Pass, day one Game Pass. So many of their exclusives were going to other consoles and PC and stuff, so they didn't really have a market to say, hey, come to Xbox for this game specifically. And yeah, it didn't work for them. I could have told you that plan wouldn't work. However, I think Asha Sharma and Matt Booty's plan is somehow even worse. A full studio reset sounds like just the biggest nuke you could drop. Oh yeah, Xbox 6 news. Or not Xbox 6. GTA 6 news. GTA 6, there's a bunch of in-game stuff that's locked behind the $100 Super Day 1 Deluxe Edition price tag. They also announced that there's not going to be a physical game. If you pre-order the Deluxe Physical Edition of the game, you're just going to get an empty case with the game code. This is becoming a standard thing that makes me want to... Makes me mad, is what I will say. Because it's just going more and more into, you don't own things you buy, right? It's going more and more into that. And there was a news article just today, before the stream, that Risen dropped into chat, into the Discord server, that we'll be talking about at the very end, just because it's the most recent thing. But yeah, GTA 6 announced that they're not going to be doing a physical version of the game, and also you have to buy the $100 Deluxe Edition to get everything in the game. There's tons of cosmetics that are locked behind the $100 paywall, which is absolutely ludicrous. This is an internal update from PlayStation Studios. I don't have good transitions for these, it's all bad. This is an update from PlayStation Studios, an internal email sent by Herman Holtz that basically says they are downsizing Bungie after they announced Destiny 2's end of life, that they're, sunsetting Destiny 2 in favor of Marathon. So they're... Yeah. It's crazy to me because Bungie's such a lauded studio with such a huge legacy. Not just for creating the original Marathon games and creating Halo. It boggles my mind because these games make so much money for these companies. Halo made a lot of money for Xbox. PlayStation bought them. They made Destiny and Destiny 2 make a lot of money for PlayStation. Marathon is supposedly doing okay. I haven't really heard a lot about it since launch, except that they're doing a Season 2 already. Didn't know there was a Season 1. Completely missed me that Marathon actually launched. I just don't get it. All these cost-cutting measures, implementing AI, and we've seen that AI is not working, so you're gonna have to backtrack. Get out of here. Sorry, emails. Okay. Yeah, implementing AI. AI doesn't work. You're gonna have to backtrack, hire back all these people. We've heard these stories before already. Just this year, we have heard these stories of having to rehire like 300 people because your AI doesn't fucking work. And I don't even think it's AI for Bungie Studios. I think that this is just a cost-cutting measure because Marathon wasn't immediately as popular as Destiny 2, which of course it wasn't gonna be. Xbox is increasing the price of their consoles. Steam Machine is going to be like $1,000. Supposedly, the PlayStation 6, if it launches next year or like 2028, is going to release into an ecosystem that it's going to have to be $1,000. Project Helix is probably going to be $1,000. Gaming has entered the space. It used to be a hobby. You would get your paycheck. you would pay all your bills, and then you would say, I've got some extra money left over. I'm going to invest in my hobby, whether it's tabletop, whether it's card collecting, whether it's gaming. It has now entered space of luxury. If you have the new gaming console, you're doing really well. I feel so grateful that I was able to get a PS5 at launch. It's ridiculous. It's awful. I feel they see it all wrong. I think companies see Fortnite or random smash hits and they get frustrated that an investment doesn't yield as much as these random games do, but they're looking at it all wrong. Yeah, 100%. They want the outliers to be the norm. My problem is always that, like, these companies are pushing so many games as services, trying to be like, oh, we need our own Fortnite. You're not going to have your own Fortnite because Fortnite exists, right? People have already invested so much time and money into the Fortnite ecosystem. They already have their arena, or their 1v-all battle royale. You know, whatever that is, Apex, PUBG, Fortnite, people have their battle royale. They're not going to invest. Why would they invest in a new one? People have their MOBA. Why would they invest in a new one? People have their MMO. Why would they invest in a new one? What do you have that offers something different? And it's never anything good. It's like, oh, we're Marvel rivals. We're like Paladins and Overwatch, but we have characters you like. That worked a little bit. I played Marvel Rivals at launch. I played Marvel Rivals for like 4 or 5 months. And then you know what happened? I realized I don't like hero shooters. That's really the long and the short of it. But my hero shooter was Overwatch 1. Doesn't exist anymore. Overwatch 2 is being rebranded as just Overwatch again. But I didn't get into Overwatch 2. Because starting my hero shooter all over again with nothing feels fucking awful. That's why I didn't play Destiny 2. My MMO was Destiny 1. Making me start all over feels fucking awful. Feels so fucking greedy. Marvel Rivals is goon bait that only caters to DPS, which is the wrong move. Yeah, playing as anything other than DPS feels bad. As somebody that tries not to play DPS, like my... Why do I recognize the background music right now? It's Hollow Knight. This is just a little a loop of Hollow Knight music I've got playing right now. This is Green Path in Hollow Knight 1. This is like the second major area where you get like the first major movement upgrade and stuff. So yeah, you might have seen me play a lot of Hollow Knight on stream is what it is. Oh, Tim Sweeney. I just want to verify that his name is fucking Tim Sweeney. Fuck Tim Sweeney. So, Epic Games boss calls Steam AI disclosures really irresponsible of Valve, as they make it much, much harder for a game developer to have a chance of success. So, Steam has implemented this thing where if your game uses AI, you have to say so. And Tim Sweeney says that's irresponsible. Because now, how will AI slip through if I have to tell people it's AI slop? That's irresponsible of Valve for not letting people lie. Fuck you, Tim Sweeney. Every time Tim Sweeney opens his mouth, it's just the worst take I've ever heard. Tim Sweeney genuinely feels... We talked about this, Patch. Steam has a monopoly, Sweeney. Steam has a monopoly. Steam should really have Fortnite on it. Yeah, fuck Tim Sweeney. We were talking about this, Patches, where so many executives feel like they're not even people. Like they've never talked to a human being before. That they don't understand what actually goes into art, the process. Not even Not even, oh, the artistic passion that goes into a game, but the commerce involved. Of the expectation of, I'm going to pay money for goods and services. I'm going to pay money for game. I own game now. Thank you so much. I will play game and enjoy game. Tim Sweeney doesn't feel like he understands that concept. Tim Sweeney doesn't feel like a person. It's so funny seeing people talk about Marvel Rivals DPS, saying that every multiplayer game has been designed. Smite 1 had 130 gods, and 80 of them were hunters, assassins, and mages. It's... yeah. It just feels easiest to cater to people who want to go... It feels... I'm going to say this in the most derogatory fashion ever. For both Marvel Rivals and Smite, the lowest common denominator is appealing to the Lokis. And I do mean that derogatorily. For Marvel Rivals and Smite, you appeal to the Lokis, you're gonna win. And if you play Loki in any game, you should feel bad for it. God, I hate Tim Sweeney. PlayStation will continue to push live service games despite evident challenges, cries in Warframe. You fool. While teasing a PlayStation 6 handheld. Yeah, so they're teasing... PlayStation is teasing more hardware as hardware is getting more expensive. So this shit is going to be thousands of dollars. And then they also said, hey, even though all of our live service games have been failing, we're going to keep making them. Do you want to know what all of these games have in common that they're showing here as part of PlayStation's catalog of wonderful games? These are all single-player experiences. Uncharted 4, Last of Us, Gran Turismo, that was it. Gran Autismo, From Gamer to Racist. What a movie. Horizon, God of War. This is so fucking mean to put Twisted Metal on here when Twisted Metal hasn't had a new game in like over a decade, but they have the show now. In game design, damage is by far the most important thing. It's how the game progresses. If healers and tanks are better than damage, balance gets horrible very quickly. And I get that. I get that if Mercy was truly an effective healer, like, the healers are really just meant to prolong the inevitable. Healers are just meant to keep you up long enough so that you do more damage to kill your enemy. Like if we're talking like just say Overwatch. If you have two mercies healing somebody and both mercies were effective, nobody would ever die. To fight for it, gameplay feels as empty as PS2 third-person shooter. Oh, I know it's not PS2, but I do think of the first Crackdown game on Xbox or Xbox 360. Crackdown could have been awesome. Crackdown 3 could have been awesome, but it just took way too long. Yeah, if healers and tanks were truly meant to be effective, the game would not progress. I get that. I get that damage is how you progress those kinds of games. But also, I feel like now there are categories of how these characters work, and there's not a lot of innovation going on, if that makes sense. They're just finding new ways to shuffle up the different, 18 different abilities that a character can have. And it's like, okay, this new character is new because it has ability 4, 13, and 7. We haven't done this combination before. Trusting people to be cool won't ever work. Never. Despite PlayStation seeing that none of this is working, PlayStation says we're doubling down. Something else I don't have on here, I don't have an article for, PlayStation announced that they are delisting, they aren't just delisting over 500 movies from their online catalog. So I don't know if you know this, but you can buy movies and shows on your PlayStation and own them through your PlayStation account. PlayStation announced that they are not just delisting like 500 movies. If you bought any of these movies, They just aren't even available for download anymore. They are fully removed with no way to, like, no reimbursement options. No, not even, like, store credit. Truly lending credence to the you don't own what you buy camp. A lot more design options. There's only so many ways you can design a tank before people get tilted playing against them. I guess. I feel like I've seen so many... I feel like I've seen enough unique options across so many different types of games. In my head, it's like, you can just make one game. It could be said for, like, anything, though. It feels like there's so many options across so many different games. In my head, it's a no-brainer to get these very innovative people together to design just one game that does tons of innovative things. But, I don't know. God, the PlayStation... The 2020s have been fucking irreprehensible. It's just been the worst ever. Hideaki Nishino is like... I mean, I guess everybody in charge of PlayStation is so fucking AI-pilled. They're like, oh, we're gonna be pushing AI across every... It's so bad. Okay, I need to calm down. These streams are so people can make informed decisions. PlayStation is pushing a system full of AI to make it easier for games to reach you. Like, they're pushing this AI thing to look at your gaming history to see what you spend, not just your purchase history, not just your play history, but what you are investing time in, how quickly you're getting through these games, to say, okay, they're breezing through these games. They are good at them, and they play a lot of them. They put a lot of hours into them. Even though they finished this game, they replayed it a bunch. They really like these kinds of games, to push more games like that to you. On paper, I don't hate that. An algorithm is not the same as generative AI. I hate that there's been this blend in talking about AI as a whole. Generative AI is the bad thing. But AI in games like to design how an enemy interacts with you. I've talked about it a million times. How an enemy interacts with you in a game to decide whether it's going to shoot, throw a grenade, duck and reload, keep moving. That is an AI. That is an algorithm that will decide how to interact with you as a player. That is fine. That's been around for decades. An algorithm to decide what you would be interested in looking at a digital storefront, that is fine. That has been around forever. The algorithm being tailored to what we want and what we like, sure, fine. My only problem with it is that if you're not showing me anything new, I might not expand my horizons. I would have to go out of my way on a recommendation to look for a game like Mina the Hollower. I had to go out of my way on a recommendation from somebody who doesn't normally play games like that, who said, no, it actually is good for me to play it. I finished it last night. Got 100% completion. Wonderful game. I require all future games to have analog AI. Truly. It is the generative AI, and I always feel the need to be very specific about that, because it's so easy for the discourse to get really yelly and really screamy about not distinguishing AI, or about screaming about AI in general. However, when PlayStation says they're making large sweeping moves to just include AI in everything, not distinguishing it, there could not be a bigger red flag for me. I've already talked about how, like, any new game I buy is either going to be, like, if it's digital only, it's got to be super on sale, like more than 50% off. If I can get it physically, I'm getting it secondhand from my friendly local game store. And I've gotten a couple great games that way. It's just getting harder and harder to even justify interfacing with games as an industry. Oh yeah, Quantic Dream developers are on strike because they were threatening to lay a bunch of people off, and they literally cannot finish the game without these people. They said, "Hey, you want this big Star Wars game, Star Wars Eclipse? You want Quantic Dream's Star Wars game?" Which is something I am interested in. There's been a lot of Star Wars games that aren't really for me. A lot of like real nothing burger looking Star Wars games. I am interested in a Quantic Dream Star Wars game. Yeah, but Quantic Dream devs are on strike because they were threatening to fire a bunch of developers, and it's like, hey, we literally cannot finish the game without developers. What are you gonna do? Put us through crunch culture? No, we're not standing for that. We were already under crunch culture, and then you're firing even more people. Game literally can't be finished. I hope they win. I hope everybody keeps their job. I hope the game reviews well. I don't like saying I hope the game does. I hope the game does well for the developers so that they can keep their job, keep making games. But when I say I hope the game does well, that is just more money into Disney's pocket is what it is. So it's really hard to parse out my language in trying to say how I want a game to perform. I hope it reviews well. I say it all the time. I never want a game to do bad. I don't think anybody should go out of their way to make a bad game. But yeah, I hope this does well. I hope they are able to finish the game. I hope it doesn't put too many people out, through crunch culture and stuff. So, not only is Xbox burning down the house, they are burning bridges. Xbox has frozen third-party Game Pass deals per industry podcast. Xbox Game Pass is the most subscribed to thing like it in the industry. Nintendo has their own version of it, the Nintendo Online, back catalog stuff. PlayStation has the PlayStation Plus. There are other, I think like Ubisoft has their own. Epic, I think, has their version of it. And I don't mean a subscription-based service like World of Warcraft, where you pay to play a game. But things like Game Pass, Xbox's original Game Pass is the most subscribed to one in the industry. And as Xbox is planning on shutting down all of their internal studios, which is going to hurt Game Pass, they've also frozen doing deals with third parties to get games onto Game Pass. What are you doing here, Xbox? I know Game Pass has not been lucrative for a while. A couple years ago, they did say, oh, it makes enough money to keep itself stable. That is not the case anymore. Xbox Game Pass is losing them money. So I would not be surprised if they're going through if they're doing a full reset, if they're going through a full restructuring of Xbox as a company. I would not be surprised if they're restructuring how Game Pass works. If we're going to get new price points, if we're going to get new tiers of Xbox Game Pass, like how PlayStation's been doing it, it doesn't look good. But I want people to be informed that Xbox Game Pass is probably going to look different in a bit, because they're changing how they're doing things. Unionized Xbox workers demand layoff protections ahead of expected cuts to Microsoft gaming businesses. I hope this goes well. I hope that I hope that all these unionized workers are able to get the protections that they need and deserve. I wonder if there's anything in here about, every Xbox game franchise Xbox owns after acquiring ActiBliz. That's crazy that they own so much. Okay, I'm not seeing any kind of timeline here. Everything, it's rough because everything is nebulously up in the air. There's not a lot of... We don't have any hard dates. Everything is just up in the air as an industry insider tip of be on the lookout. This is planned, Yeah, the fact that they're unionized means their union should do something to protect them. If their union doesn't, what's the point? Yep, okay, here we go. We're back with the Stop Killing Games Back to California bill did not pass. However, I hope that bringing this into light will allow more people and more legislation to be at least talked about. However, I don't want it to be one of those things that we just keep talking about. That doesn't fucking happen. What's this? Alright. And finally, from only a couple hours ago, PlayStation will stop releasing games on disc in 2028. That's around the time that the PS6 is going to be going through its launch cycle. You know, again, going into the credence of you don't own what you buy. But there's still going to be, yeah, you can go to a shop and buy a digital code. Why? It comes days after Rockstar's announced that GTA 6 will not have a physical disc. The move comes as consumer preferences and the broader entertainment industries continue to shift away from physical discs to digital. Physical media is so important to actually own the things you buy, but nobody wants that. I saw a thing. I saw an article that was talking about how streaming services like Netflix, HBO, and Hulu and the such and the like are bearing down all these horrible things on consumers. You know, additional prices, worse content, things like that. And the person writing the article was like, PlayStation, or not PlayStation, but these companies, Netflix needs to remember that the only thing that its business model has going for it is that it is slightly more convenient than the yo-ho-ho alternative. Xbox does this next if pushback isn't too bad. I mean, Nintendo did it first. When the Switch 2 launched, there's no game on the cartridge. The cartridge is a key to unlock the game you're downloading in its entirety digitally. So you download the game entirely on the Switch 2, and the cartridge just acts as a key to unlock that game. If you don't have the key in the lock, you're not going to get to play the game. But there's nothing on the cartridge, which is wild to me. It feels like it should be illegal. It feels like it should be illegal, but it's not. And I feel like legislation for consumer protections will never move fast enough to keep up with this, because there's no incentive for it to. Nintendo can spit in their fans' mouths and get claps? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, so this article just came out today. We'll see. That's it. That's all that I have for the gaming news. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get something to drink, something to eat, and we'll keep playing something. We'll play something. Stay safe out there as a consumer, as just a person in society. Stay safe out there, make informed decisions. I hope that this has been informative for somebody out there, so that you are aware of what's going on in the industry that we love and care for so deeply. All these articles will be posted in the Discord server. Actually, all these articles are already posted in the Discord server. If anybody is interested in doing some additional research or wanting to read these articles in full, I'm going to post socials. So there's the Discord server, as well as the shop that sells shirts and hats that I design. There's the VOD channel. The Discord server also votes on games that I play. If you want a say in what I play next, the Discord server is the place to do it. The Discord server votes on games that I play. Yeah, I will be right back for the stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, be good, be kind, treat people the way you'd want to be treated, and I will catch you in the next one.